This week's episode of We Need to Talk is brought to you by FanTeam. Now, FanTeam make fantasy football with a difference. Fantasy football with a £1 million difference. That's right, the winner of FanTeam this season is taking home £200,000. That is quite frankly ridiculous. Now, FanTeam, slightly different to your classic Fantasy Premier League, particularly in the way, let's say, they price players, okay? So it's a little bit more difficult to just stack your team with your Kevin De Bruyne's, your Bruno's, your Harry Kane's right now. Take, for example, the Liverpool front four. I've got it in front of me here. You know, Mo Salah, worth 12.5 million. Sadio Mane, 10. Jota 7.5, Firmino 7.5. So there's a little bit of thought going to have to go into that because Mane, you know, is worth 2 million less on FanTeam than maybe the FPL. So I would potentially be thinking about him because he's a little bit cheaper. But anyway, we want you guys at home to sign up by clicking the link in the description below. If you think you can beat us and you want to win £1 million, if you think you're the best in the world at fantasy football, hit that link. Of course, you do have to be 18 plus and full terms and conditions can be found on the FanTeam website. Anyway, let's crack on with We Need to Talk. Of course, you know by now this is the show that looks at football on the internet over the past 7 days. The 7 days that seen Frankie de Jong getting done not once, but twice in Barcelona training. This lad having an absolute howler in his back garden. It's the silence after the strike for me. And David Alaba putting his name in the hat for free kick duty at Real Madrid. Anyway, today we need to talk about transfers. The transfer window closes in T-minus 30, I looked at my watch on, T-minus 33 days. So as you can see, and probably have seen over the past 7 days, teams are starting to speed up business, getting those deals done and dusted. You know, unless you're Newcastle. But before we get into this video, I wanted to just quickly raise another viral clip I've seen online. It is this one from Jose Mourinho about Football Daily.
Hello to the Football Daily team. Firstly, good luck with the Sunday Vibes show. It's always great to hear different perspectives and opinions on football. I hope that you show some respect and you are polite about me. I invite you to keep a close eye on me in my new job in Italy. It's a great opportunity for me. I'm excited and I will show you and prove to everyone how well I can do. Thanks a lot, Jose.
Now, if you want to hear Pato's response to that Jose Mourinho video on next week's We Need to Talk, get this video to 4,000 likes. 4,000 likes, and I will text Pato, and I will try and make that happen. No promises. Anyway, today we are talking, as the title says, one player each club should think about selling this summer. But I've put a bit of a twist on this one. I took it to Twitter yesterday, and I asked fans of the teams to submit suggestions, and then what I've done is I've whittled it down to the most suggested names for each Premier League team, and I'm going to react to them because I feel like some fans are disrespecting their own players after yesterday's Twitter activity, to be quite honest. Disrespecting. Alright, we're going alphabetically. We're going to be starting with Arsenal, the Gunners. Now, the most suggested name by some distance, Alexandre Lacazette, 30 years old. Of course, his contract is up next summer, so it is kind of or bust now for Arsenal, and I think they probably should consider selling it. I agree with the Arsenal fans that suggested this on Twitter. I personally feel that if you're going to play Aubameyang through the minutes, yes, Alexandre Lacazette picked up the most goals last season in all competitions for Arsenal. You've got Balogun to give minutes to. You've got Gabriel Martinelli to give minutes to. I think that might be the smart thing to do. Cash in while you can, get £30 million, maybe that sort of fee for him. Put that money towards James Maddison. If you can use the Alexandre Lacazette money to coax Maddison to the Emirates, it is worth it. If you can get a top class 10 for that money, it's worth it. So I agree with Arsenal fans on Lacazette. This is the last summer you can get money for him. Do it. Alright, we're moving on now to Aston Villa, and the name most suggested here was none other than Anwar El Ghazi. Now, I think this one's maybe a little bit harsh. He actually had a pretty good season last year. 10 goals in 28 games for the Villains. But arguments can be made that his stock has never been higher than right now. He is 26 years old. His contract's up in 2023, of course, so you're going to get maximum value for him this window. If you run it down to next, you risk getting quite a low fee, I think, given that Buendia has come through the door. If Jack stays, if Grealish signs that new contract, there's also the thoughts of Bertrand Traore in there. I think that it might be a smart move, but if Jack goes, no chance, no way. The only way El Ghazi goes is if they can get another wide man in for him as well, because depth is key, and without El Ghazi there, that sort of attacking three that play off the striker does look a little bit thin on paper. Doesn't have too much support behind it, so there's a lot of caveats to this El Ghazi suggestion. I'm on the fence. Moving on to Brentford, we're not going to hang around with this one because fans were suggesting Pontus Janssen. Now, I think this might have ended up being rival fans, to be honest with you, because this is a ridiculous suggestion. There's no chance Pontus Janssen leaves this summer. Captain, I think he is one of the most vital players off the pitch in particular for Brentford. I know that they've signed Christopher Ayer and he might well come in place of Pontus Janssen in the long term, but you do not sell your captain, one of your most experienced players, in the summer you joined the Premier League, especially when Brentford have that versatile ability to move from a back three to a back four. You need cover, you need experience. For God's sake, he is staying. Ridiculous suggestion. Brighton fans then, as you can see, were suggesting Neal Maupay. And I really couldn't disagree with this more. I think Neal Maupay, yes, he didn't have his best season last year, 8 goals in 29 games. Obviously, we know he underperformed expected goals by 5 or 6. Expected goals is there to give you the underlying numbers for a long trajectory. He is not going to continue to underperform expected goals by 5 or 6 every single season, just like he hasn't throughout previous seasons. Eventually, he will start finding the net. He's only 24. I think you've got to keep Neal Maupay, even if it's just for depth. I think there's other assets that could be sold at Brighton. Neal Maupay, for me, has to stay. Moving on to Burnley then. I've forgotten who the fan suggested here. Oh yeah, Mateo Vydra. That's just another interesting one because Burnley, I feel like, have no sellable assets really because the squad is so thin that most of the players there end up playing quite a significant role. Like Mateo Vydra, still 28 games last season, still 1,400 minutes, but just 3 goals for that 1,400 minutes, it has to be said. His contract's up in 2022, so this is the last summer to get any money for Mateo Vydra. And he is a proven goal scorer at championship level, so could you get £5 million or £3 million from a championship club and look to reinvest that into a younger player? Maybe, but Burnley aren't cash rich. I would be tempted to sell him though. I would be tempted to sell him. I think if you can get that £3 million to reinvest in a younger version of Mateo Vydra, it might be worth thinking about. Just 3 goals last season. Is there somebody they could bring in to replicate that output? I think there probably is. So I agree with the Burnley fans on this one. Vydra to the Championship. Moving on to Chelsea now then. We're hitting some heavy hitters here. And the fans were suggesting Hakim Ziyech. A few fans were also suggesting Tammy Abraham here. However, following the sale of Olivier Giroud and the unlikely recruitment of Erling Haaland, let's face it at this stage, I don't think he's going to leave, is he? Come on. So I've picked Hakim Ziyech because I think this is actually a player who genuinely could be sold. He feels like the most out of place under Thomas Tuchel, if that makes sense. Of course, he was signed for £34 million just last summer out of Ajax. And I think at the time, we all kind of said, that feels like a bargain fee. So could Chelsea cash in, take some money in for Hakim Ziyech, look to reinvest that in Erling Haaland this summer, or January, or next summer, whenever it's going to be, because he is well down the pecking order. When you think of Werner, Pulisic, Callum Hudson-Odoi, Kai Havertz, Mason Mount can also play wide. They're all ahead of him in the way Thomas Tuchel wants to play. I'm not sure Hakim Ziyech fits in. I don't think he completed a full 90 minutes in the whole time Thomas Tuchel has been manager of Chelsea. I think I would take £20 million to get Hakim Ziyech moved on, look to reinvest that in other players. We've seen Mark Guehi go, we've seen Tomori go, I think we're probably going to see Barkley go, we need to see Drinkwater go, we need to see potentially Ziyech go. I don't know why I'm saying we when I'm a United fan, but yeah, there's lots of sellable assets at Chelsea, and I think Ziyech's probably one of them. Crystal Palace are up next, then. I couldn't believe this one. The most suggested name by Palace fans, for me, was Wilf Zaha. What? Now, the argument Palace fans had here was obviously that, look, his contract's up in 2023. This is going to be the last summer you can get big bucks for him. He's refused multiple contracts. We can reinvest it in the squad. But I just think that Wilf Zaha, especially with the Eberechi Eze injury, is going to be so vital to the creativity and output for Palace and Patrick Vieira this season that he must be kept. 13 goal involvements in 29 games last season. He wasn't at his best throughout the whole season. He had a fair few injury problems. I just think that Wilf Zaha cannot be sold in the same summer Eberechi Eze has snapped his Achilles and the goal output looks to be drying up. I think Elise is a fantastic signing. Guehi's a fantastic signing. Joachim Andersen's a fantastic signing. Don't go and ruin it by selling Wilf. Everton then, who did we have? I've forgotten. Oh yeah, Moise Kean. Now this is an interesting one, isn't it? Because it feels unlikely that PSG are going to reinvest in him on a permanent level. I think if he could get him back on loan, they might well be interested, but I don't think PSG are going to spend the 30 or 20 million pounds it requires to get Moise Kean out of Everton, especially when priorities like Paul Pogba are on the horizon for him. So where does he go? I'm not too sure on his destinations. He is under contract, of course, until 2024 as well. We've seen Rafa Benitez come in and deploy that 4-2-3-1. Dominic Calvert-Lewin is going to spearhead it. I think Richarlison's probably going to operate off the left wing, although we have seen the likes of Andros Townsend, the likes of Damari Gray come through the door. It's been a suspect summer for Everton. Let's have it right. I don't think Moise Kean's going to leave. If you can get a big fee for him, fair play. But it just feels a bit muddled. And I think Benitez is going to want to assess him for another season. If he doesn't work this year, then he'll be sold. He's got a long old contract left. Moving on then to Leeds United. Helder Costa was obviously the name that loads of Leeds fans popped up with here. I feel like Leeds fans get a little bit frustrated with Helder Costa. He is quite a frustrating footballer to watch, isn't he? He does like to give the ball away quite a lot. However, I think Helder Costa only gets moved on if another winger comes in. You know, if Noah Lang came in, then I think you'd see Helder Costa potentially departing. But I just don't think it's going to happen. He still appeared 22 times last season. I think that Leeds probably are thinking to keep Helder Costa and then reassess in 2022. Personally, I don't think he'll leave, but I can see Leeds fans' arguments here. If Noah Lang comes through the door, is bye-bye Helder. Moving on to Leicester City then. There were quite a few suggestions for Leicester, and I feel like they were getting trolled a bit, and a lot of people were saying James Maddison. But I think we should talk about whether it would be smart to sell and cash in on James Maddison right now. He did have an injury-hit season, didn't he? He also had the sort of COVID party-related issues with Brendan Rodgers, but he is still vital creatively to this Leicester side. 13 goal involvements in 24 starts last season. Leicester have recruited really well. Patson Daka, Boubakary Samare, Ryan Bertrand as left-back cover. I think it is a huge job to replace James Maddison, and that shouldn't be underrated. To replace a player who, you know, since the start of the 18-19 season has put up over 100 chances created from open play, over 100 chances created from set pieces. He's the only player in the league to do that, by the way. I think he's tough. So unless you're getting £80 million for him, I would be sticking with Maddison. I wouldn't be selling him for anything less than 75, 80 million pounds. We're moving on to Liverpool now then. Of course, it's Bobby Firmino, as you can see. Lots of Liverpool fans were talking about cashing in on him now. Contract is up in 2023. There's quite a few contractual issues at Liverpool right now. Of course, all of that front three, Salah, Mane and Firmino out of contract in 2023. If I was going to cash in on one of them, I suppose it would be Bobby Firmino with the development of Diogo Jota. If I could get 40, 35 million pounds for Firmino to reinvest in another forward, I would be very tempted. His output has declined season on season. We've gone 16 goal involvements last season, 17 the season before that. I think it was 18 the season before that. His creative output is declining season on season, and he's getting no younger. But they didn't go for Yarmolenko, did they? And that tells me that Klopp is going to stick with this front three again. And he's going to let Firmino run his contract down to 2022. I think Salah will definitely get a new contract. Be surprised if Mane doesn't. So yeah, I can see the idea behind selling Firmino, but I just don't think it's going to happen. Moving on then to Manchester City. Loads of people were suggesting Bernardo Silva in here for Manchester City. Benjamin Mendy also highly mentioned. But let's chat about Bernardo Silva, because the news has broken over the last sort of 48 hours that Jack Grealish is in advanced negotiations with Man City. If he comes in, I think Bernardo Silva probably will be the one pushed towards the exit door. And they could get a good fee for Bernardo Silva here. He is still only 26, extremely versatile, really good creative output, fantastic dribbler, great pressures. I think he is a player that Arsenal could do a lot worse than pick up for a cut price fee. If Maddison's going for 80 and you can get Bernardo Silva out for like 45, I think that's such a smart bit of business. Would Bernardo Silva be willing to go to Arsenal, cut his wages in half? I'm not so sure. But if you're going to sell someone Manchester City and it has to be Bernardo Silva, I think it's a shame, because he is still an incredibly talented player. Manchester United are up next then. Everybody was saying him. Paul Pogba. We have to talk about it. Do Manchester United sell, or do they keep in this window? It's such a difficult decision, man. It's such a difficult decision, because if Manchester United sell Pogba, they have to reinvest those funds smartly. They have to sign an out-and-out, lights-out defensive midfielder with that money. They can't sign a like-for-like replacement. They've already got Donny van de Beek, who wants to play in that attacking midfield role. They've got plenty of wingers. Spend the money on a defensive midfielder if you're going to sell Pogba. But you have to realise that if you sell Pogba, you're not going to replace him with a player as good. Pogba is one of the most talented players in world football. If he goes to PSG for 40 or 50 million pounds, they are getting a bargain. He is a sensational footballer. Yes, he might not have hit the heights we thought he'd hit at Manchester United, but he is still an incredibly talented player, and PSG are in for a worldie, whether they get him now, January, or next summer on a free. I think Manchester United, though, might be thinking, if we're gonna let him go, we've got to get money. We can't lose him for free twice. Hopefully he signs a new contract, but I can see him leaving for 40 or 50 million pounds and United signing a defensive midfielder. Newcastle are up next then, and it's Joe Shelby. Pretty much every Newcastle fan I spoke to said they wanted Joe Shelby out of the club. But he did start 29 games last season. His contract is up in 2023. Newcastle are having one of the worst summers it is possible to remember. I mean, the thought, they've been gone from being linked with Mario Lemina, who's now gone to Nice, rejected them, to being linked with James McCarthy. And I'm not even Mario Lemina's biggest fan, to be honest with you. But the thought of a James McCarthy, Joe Shelby, Hendrick midfield three on the opening day of the season rightly worries Newcastle fans. There's a huge lack of investment going on there. I think maybe we should do a special about Newcastle. I can explain about the situation at Newcastle, because right now the whole club is in turmoil, and I can see why they want Shelby out the door. As for Norwich, Teemu Pookie was suggested by a few Norwich fans. Now, I'm going to stay totally silent on this one, but what I will say is that this is the last summer to cash in. His contract's up in 2022, but he arrived as a free transfer. Let's not forget that. He arrived, cost zero, been an amazing signing for Norwich. Incredible in the Championship, still scored 11 goals, proved me to be a total tit in the Premier League, and I think he might do it again. I would absolutely keep Teemu Pookie. Selling him would be a stupid decision in my eyes. Don't think you get a huge fee, and he will contribute goals. Not in the same summer. Buendia leaves the club. No way. Sound like what's the name of Love Island then? No way. Southampton fans were saying it is probably time to cash in on Danny Ings. He's out of contract next season. He's rejected multiple renewals. This is the last summer they're going to get any money, and they need money to reinvest in the squad because the owners ain't going to put it in. This summer has looked pretty bleak if you're a Southampton fan. They need to get some loan moves or something done. However, in my head, Danny Ings keeps them in the league right now. And if you get 20 or 30 million pounds for him, you're going to get relegated potentially. I just think Danny Ings has to stay. You have to keep him. Because if you lose him over £20 million and go down, it looks like a horrendous bit of business. What good's £20 million in the Championship when you're getting parachute payments anyway? I think keep Danny Ings, surely. Tottenham are up next then, and we are talking about... Who was this? Not Kane. No, it's Harry Winks, of course. And I agree with Tottenham fans on this one. I think this probably is the summer to move Harry Winks on. He is under contract until 2024, so it's not a desperate rush. But in terms of midfielders, Ollie Skip's come back from Norwich. I'm not sure whether he's going to go back out on loan. Lo Celso and Ndombele, Højbjerg, Moussa Sissoko can play in there as well. I think this is probably the summer that Harry Winks does get moved on. Just 9 league starts last season. If Tottenham can get a bit of cash for him, 15, 20 million pounds, I'm not sure where his destination would be. But there are probably suitors down the middle to lower half of the league for Harry Winks at 15 to 20 million pounds. I've seen him linked with Manchester United though, which worries me. We're going to Watford up next then. This one was Andre Gray. I don't think Watford are going to be selling Andre Gray though. I don't think Watford are going to sell any players really. When you come up to the Premier League, it's vital you have an extremely deep squad, and I don't think they're going to be considering selling a player like Andre Gray. And obviously that long-term hamstring injury, and Joao Pedro probably is the man to start through the middle for Watford. But just keep the depth. It's not worth the £5 million. West Ham up next. It's Andre Yarmolenko. It is Andre Yarmolenko that was suggested by the fans. This is the last year of his contract, so the last chance to get a fee. Let's not forget West Ham done £22 million on Andre Yarmolenko. I think he's one of the top, if not the top earner at the club. I don't even think they've offered Declan Rice as much money as Andre Yarmolenko is on. That's why he's rejected a couple of deals. Yeah, cash in. I mean, who's paying it? If you can ship him off to like Turkey or somewhere like that, I'm not sure who pays the money for Yarmolenko though, to be honest with you. You're definitely going to take a loss to West Ham, and I would just be focusing on shifting the wages, because right now that squad needs some work. They have to get a striker through the door. Final team then, Wolves. This is the worst suggestion I've potentially seen in years. It's Connor Cody. Wolves fans were saying, look, Connor Cody, I think it's time to move him on. Bruno Lage is going to be playing a back four. Connor Cody doesn't fit the system. Shut up! Shut up. Connor Cody has missed 1 game for Wolves in the last 3 seasons. He's the club captain, incredibly influential off the pitch. Even if he doesn't start 38 games this season and starts 20, he is a vital component to Wolves. You cannot sell Connor Cody. It's awful. Keep him. Okay, so that was the list of 1 player each club should sell this summer in the Premier League, as suggested by the fans. I want to hear from you guys at home. Is there anyone you want out of your club? Let me know in the comments below. I will be in there for the first couple of hours that this video is live. As I said at the start, if you're interested in signing up for Fan Team, the link is in the description below. You've got to be 18+, and there's full terms and conditions on their website. Thanks very much for watching, everybody. We'll see you later. Bye.